Hi, folks. I'm Jamie Hiles,
I'm Lydia Judy.
I'm Derek Lemaster.
and this is Screen Bloody Movies, the podcast where you get your horror news. We review a new horror movie each week, and then we talk about John Carpenter movies because this is John Carpenter movie number 3 on the podcast so far. We've done 26 of these things. What's that math out to, Derek?
What, one every, I don't know.
This is episode 26.
almost
We've
9.
done
It's almost one every 9.
one every 9. We hit a John Carpenter movie because he is the master. So, how are you guys doing today?
I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm doing tired, but I got some coffee and I'm ready to do this. I've been looking forward to this one.
Tonight's a good one. Tonight's one of the best. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one too.
Are you gonna have kids one day?
Why does everybody ask me that?
Well, you said you were tired.
I see why you asked me that now.
I see now. I thought you were like, oh, you like the thing now. Wait till you have kids. They remind you of the thing.
That's mean, but kind of.
I don't know who I am anymore.
Yes, I don't think I could handle how tired I am already and then throw kids on top of that. So I'm going to hold off until I'm just not tired anymore.
Yeah.
Which maybe never.
Hey, nothing wrong
if
with
you wait
that.
for the perfect time, it will be never. But no, I was just going to make a comment about like how, especially newborns, man, 5 hours of sleep, you're lucky.
Yeah.
But it's
Anyway.
worth it.
Oh, it totally is worth it. I got a smile today. I don't get many of those.
Aww.
Oh, that
Yeah.
is nice. So, guys, we've got today, we're going to open it like we do every week with the horror news. And we've got some interesting ones this week, actually. Not a lot, but some pretty cool stuff. So, first on the agenda is today it was announced that Kyle Richards has signed on to return as Lindsay Wallace in Halloween Ends. What are you guys' thoughts on this?
Lindsay Wallace?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Little Lindsay Wallace.
Yeah.
Is now Big Lindsay Wallace. And she didn't die in Halloween Kills, so she is returning to having one more round with Michael Myers. What are you guys' thoughts?
Well, I'm sure she loves to be called Big Lindsay Wallace.
Well, no matter how I could have said adult. That would probably be the best, because if I said old Lindsay Wallace,
Yeah.
that wouldn't be nice either.
Grown up, adult, yeah.
There you go.
I don't
What are
know
your
how
thoughts?
to feel about that. It's awesome, I guess. At least they're, keeping that continuity. That's something. Has she done anything between then and now?
I mean, the Real Housewives and stuff. But this is what is interesting is sources say that after Richards garnered positive reception from fans, the filmmakers rewrote the script to include her character, crafting an expanded storyline for her. So I know that after Halloween after Halloween Kills, she met with David Gordon Green afterwards because she was interested. She wanted to return. She had fun. Her character was still alive. She, wanted to be part of the ending. And he was like, well, you're not in the next script. I didn't have anything for you. So he met with her, and then he's like, and she realized how much she wanted to do it and figured it out. So she's officially
Nice.
signed on.
Well, that's
That's good.
exciting.
Yeah. So I think that's
Good for
cool.
him.
It's good for her to get that closure. It's good for us to see what happened to her character, especially 4 years after Michael Myers' last attack, because that's when this movie's going to pick up. So it's going to be interesting to see how her life is after she lost her friend Tommy Doyle in glorious fashion.
Oh my goodness.
It was not a good day for Tommy, was it?
No.
It was not.
A Jose Canseco bat? Little Ninja Turtles humor for you guys.
It was a little Ninja Turtles humor.
Tell me you didn't pay money for this. So, guys, this is interesting. Dave Bautista will star in M. Night Shyamalan's new movie, Knock at the Cabin.
Oh.
that could be interesting. I think of the wrestlers who like broke out and have kind of went mainstream. In my personal opinion, although I think so far he's been cast at least in like larger blockbusters.
Mm-hmm.
He's been cast really well for his acting skill,
Yeah,
but it's
he
not
has.
a deep acting skill. So it really depends on the direction they take with this role, if it'll be fitting for him or not. Because he doesn't, in my opinion, have a great range, but he's been perfectly cast for the things he has done.
Yeah, and I mean, we don't really know what his range is because we haven't really seen it, I guess.
That is also true.
I think he's good in most everything he does. I mean, outside of The Rock, who is, of course, on another level of moving from wrestling to acting, obviously.
Yeah, he's not a real barometer to do that. John Cena would be a good one.
Yeah, John Cena, who's been cast very well too. I think Batista's roles, and I really liked him in Blade Runner. His role in Blade Runner was really good. I liked him in the Bond movie, Spectre. He was good in that. He's really good in the new Zack Snyder zombie movie, Army of the Dead.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, he's really good in that. Like, he shows range in that one.
I just watched both Guardians of the Galaxy movies, like,
of course,
this weekend.
Yeah, terrific in those.
So good, so funny.
Yeah, Drax is probably my favorite character. Well, I think Rocket might be my favorite because I think Rocket's really funny too.
They're all so good.
Sure.
Yeah,
but when Drax and Mantis
in part 2,
probably the funniest thing.
I like when he talks about how hideous she is.
Yes, it's so funny.
You know, if I had to pick a favorite Marvel character of the Marvel Cinematic Universe right now, I'm pretty sure it would probably be Korg, man. I love Korg.
Oh, yes, he's
Korg
really
is like
too.
My favorite.
Mine too.
That's awesome.
My favorite line of all time, of all the Marvel movies, is when he kicks the wall and says, "Piss off, Ghost." That's my all-time favorite line.
I like in Endgame when he was like, "Oh, the guy called me a dickhead again."
Oh yeah, it's good too. Guy called me a dickhead again. But Piss Off Ghost was my favorite because it's Loki just appearing to him and then he vanishes and he kicks the wall and goes, "Piss off, Ghost!" So stupid. But
was perfect.
He's excellent. So that's good news. I'm excited for that. We've not seen him in a straight horror movie yet. I mean, we've seen him in Army of the Dead, which is basically a big blockbuster zombie movie. And terrific, might I add. I loved it. Thought it was fun.
Very fun. Yeah, super fun.
Super fun. Zack Snyder, man. Restore the Snyder cut in the Snyder universe. Restore it. Restore the Snyderverse.
I'd sign that petition.
We need it in our lives. Okay, Lydia. Oh, Lydia. So this isn't happening per se, but this is something that somebody said that they would want to do. Are you ready? Are you ready for this?
Am I?
Okay. So Guillermo, our good buddy Guillermo del Toro.
I just already like spit my coffee everywhere. Does he say that name?
He says that the one thing he would want to do is make a version of Pet Sematary.
Shut up.
Please
let
him watch one of our episodes that we did on that, where we like gave them the perfect avenue to a sequel and be like, "Yep, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that, guys."
Yeah. I mean,
do you remember what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Of a legacy sequel taking place with her as an adult.
Oh my gosh, could you imagine?
No.
That would be so perfect.
We're giving you guys all of this. You must hire us to write this script, though.
Yeah, we've got great ideas.
But Guillermo, in an interview I think it was for the Kingcast, the podcast, the Kingcast, he said, "You know the novel that I would have killed to adapt, and I know there's 2 versions of it, and I still think maybe in a deranged universe I get to do it one day. Is Pet Sematary. I would love to live in that universe, Guillermo. Please let that universe exist."
You know what? If I were the studio. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, if I were the studio, I would just like rename that other one and be like,
Oh,
"Yep, no,
yes.
this is the sequel this is the reboot we meant to make."
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I would just cancel the plans that I have for this series or whatever and be like, guys, this isn't happening. Guillermo wants to make Pet Sematary.
Let's do that.
So let's
Drop
do that.
everything.
Yeah.
Have
Good
you
God.
guys seen, I want to say it's called The Cat with Hands or The Cat's Hands or something like that. It's a short film that Guillermo did.
I don't think I've seen it.
It
no.
is very eerie. It's on YouTube. I'm pretty sure you can go look
I'll have
it
to
up
check it
after
out.
this.
Yeah.
It's so just spooky, and I'm picturing that and Pet Sematary mixed, and I would love it so much.
I would watch anything with Guillermo's name on it. Anything that he, I mean, if he produced, I'll watch it. But if he directed it, my ass is in the seat. I mean,
Yes.
you got me.
Yes.
I can't think of a bad Guillermo movie. Even the ones
The
I
Cat
like.
with Hands.
Cat
Yes.
with Hands. Even like like lesser efforts like Crimson Peak, I thought were cool
Yeah.
and beautiful to look at.
I did like that one.
I enjoyed Crimson Peak.
Yeah,
thought it was
I did
good.
too.
It was very upsetting.
Yeah, that's the point of it. It's very upsetting.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So the last bit of news here is kind of a double. I was going to say double fister, but that sounds a little bad. A two-hander. There you go.
It's
Got a double dose here.
It's too early in the podcast for that kind of talk.
Well, I mean, we have to get it out there now. Today's episode is not the most humorous of movies, so
I guess that's true.
So, Lydia, did you know that there was a new trailer for the new Texas Chainsaw sequel?
No.
Derek, did you end up watching it?
I did.
And what are your thoughts on it?
Get a trash can ready.
Is that bad?
I think the trailer is okay. You have to watch it.
Oh,
Report back
that
to us
doesn't
next
sound
week.
good. Doesn't sound good.
But there's a
if
lot
this
of.
was, go ahead, Jamie.
No, go ahead.
If it hadn't been 50 years,
Mm-hmm.
at least the trailer would make more sense. But yeah, I have little to no hope for that.
So the trailer, Lydia, you'll have
Just
to
so
watch
confused.
it. But basically, it's just a scene. It shows just quick cuts of stuff. You know what I mean? It shows Leatherface John Wicking into his wall, like you know the scene in John Wick where he takes a sledgehammer and breaks open where he buried all of his stuff because he's getting back into the game.
Yeah.
It has him breaking into his wall and pulling out his chainsaw. Because here's why. I've got the synopsis for this new movie. And I'm going to read it to you. And you tell me if you think it's bueno or no bueno. All right? So, after nearly 50 years of hiding, Leatherface returns to terrorize a group of idealistic young friends who accidentally disrupt his carefully shielded world in a remote Texas town. Melody, her teenage sister, and their friends Dante and Ruth head to the remote town of Harlow, Texas to start an idealistic new business venture. But their dreams turns into a walking nightmare when they accidentally disrupt the home of Leatherface, the deranged serial killer whose blood-soaked legacy continues to haunt the area's residents, including Sally Hardesty, the sole survivor of the infamous 1973 massacre, who's hell-bent on seeking revenge. So, they definitely watched Halloween 2018, right? I mean, they 100% watched that.
Right? They're like, oh, let's do that with our character.
Except they can't get Marilyn Burns to play Sally because Marilyn Burns has passed away, so they recast her. So it's not going to have near the same impact.
Oh, wow.
And here's the part that's really worries me, Lydia. I talked to Derek about this already. Here's the part that worries me. In this timeline, Leatherface has been in hiding for 40 plus years, almost 50 years, has been living a normal life as a regular citizen.
Nuh-uh.
And then this turns him back, and he's been trying to be a good person, and this turns him back into the life of Leatherface. That's why he John Wicks his wall.
What on earth?
I
Nuh-uh.
told you.
What? I am like really confused.
Well, apparently, and Jamie, correct me if I'm wrong based on the conversation we've previously had about this, but it was so bad that they're like, yeah, Netflix, we'll sell this property to you and you can try to recover some.
What the rumor is here's what happened. They hired a director to make this movie. The director shot a portion of this movie, or some of it. I don't know how much he shot. The director shot some of this movie. They saw the dailies, hated the dailies so much, they fired the director, hired these two new guys shooting, I believe, the same script, and then didn't really care for the cut. They didn't have confidence in it to release to theaters. Netflix came knocking. They sold the rights to Netflix, and it supposedly has tested terribly. However, Fede Alvarez, who we love Fede, he's the producer of this movie, and he said, "Oh, the test scores weren't that bad. It was decently well received," which is kind of business speak for, yeah, the test screening was terrible.
Yeah.
What's he gonna say? Yeah, it's shit. Don't come see my movie, right? Don't watch it. But it's for the studio. It's a win-win. You release it or you sell it to Netflix. For Netflix, it's a win-win. Netflix buys this movie for however much they bought it for, and people are going to watch it because it's going to be streaming on Netflix for no extra cost.
Right.
So they're going to recoup their investment. Now, are you excited for this movie, or are you leery?
Well, now I'm just kind of excited because I want to see how bad it is.
It cannot be worse than Texas Chainsaw: The Next Generation.
Well,
Texas Chainsaw 3D, or the new Leatherface movie. Those are all really bad.
I liked 3D.
I hated it. It was terrible. When she throws him the chainsaw and says, "Do your thing, cuz," I wanted to go through the screen and punch somebody in the face. Not to mention the fact that she is supposedly the daughter from the original movies.
Yeah.
But she's like 23. She would be at least 40.
No, that's definitely my favorite one. I just decided that's my favorite.
Oh God, it's one of the worst. I remember watching that and just as it went on, I just got angrier because I was like, oh, this, and then I'm like, what? Wait, what? And then it was just like, this is stupid. Have they not watched the other movies? How could you fuck up a timeline so badly?
It's crazy because the first one is so iconic and like it's so good. It is really good. And then they just did whatever they wanted afterwards.
And Texas Chainsaw 2 is one of my all-time favorites. We'll get to that one day. We'll get to both of those. But Texas Chainsaw 2 is fucking hilarious. I love it.
Yeah. It's scary too.
Yeah, and I love the remake. I love Marcus Nespel's remake. I think it's very good.
Also very scary.
Yeah. The prequel to that, not so much. But hey, what are you gonna do?
But 3D is a gem.
Oh, if you dig for gems in the shitter. What was the only good thing about 3D, Derek?
I don't know. I don't think I watched that one.
Yeah,
was
you
that
did.
which one was?
That's the Do Your Thing, cuz one.
Oh, what was the best thing about that?
Yeah, what was the only good thing about it?
Alexandria Daddario.
That is correct. Alexandria Daddario.
Is that girl's name?
Yeah.
Yeah, she is very beautiful.
Yeah, she is.
Mm-hmm.
She's really great in True Detective.
No comment.
So guys, now that we're out of the horror news, it's time to get on with today's movie, which is John Carpenter's 1982. Should I say it? Can I say it? Masterpiece? Can I say that?
Yes.
Oh yeah, for sure.
John Carpenter's 1982 masterpiece, The Thing. So let's dive into it. Lydia, what is your history with The Thing? And is this the first time you've seen it?
No, it's not the first time I've seen it. I think I've seen it twice before, 2 or 3 times before. I can't tell you when the first time I watched it was, though. It was not too long ago. I think I
So
watched
this
it
is
the
a
first time as an
recent-
adult.
Yeah, this is a recent discovery for you.
Yeah, like maybe early 20s.
Oh, okay.
I had to watch it. I was like, I can't believe I haven't seen this. So
Yeah.
it's like I bought it and love it.
Yeah. Derek.
Spoiler.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we spoiled it at the top of the episode, but who cares? Derek, what are your experiences with the thing?
Oh man, I can't even count the number of times I've seen this movie. Just the number of times that it was on TBS.
Yeah, it used to be on TBS. When I was watching it last night, I literally thought, I was like, I remember watching this on TBS in the 90s.
Exactly. So I can't even count, like I said, the number of times that I've seen this movie. And also, like, I also can't believe it's been so long since I've seen this movie. I can't wait to get into this. It's great.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
So your story is similar to mine. I've watched this since I was young. I think I first saw it on VHS back in the VHS days. And then it was on TBS, like Derek said. TBS used to run the shit. They used to run the shit out of this and Die Hard 2. Like they were on all the time. So I watched the TV edit of this multiple times, which there's a weird TV edit of this movie, you guys, that has a weird narrator just narrating bits of the movie.
What?
What?
And it's not even one of the characters. It's just the omnipresent narrator that tries to clear up plot points that are purposely left ambiguous for us to discover. He's like,
Yeah.
windows went down the street. You know, it's just really weird shit.
Ah.
Yeah, we'll have to look at that sometime. It's on my Shout Factory Blu-ray. They have that version of it. So
What?
we'll have to check it out
I've never
someday.
seen that version.
Yeah, it's wild. It's wild. We'll have to check it out one day. But I grew up watching this movie. When I became in my teens is when I really, got even more into John Carpenter's filmography, and this has always been towards the top. I would say it is the top, tied with another particular 1978 film for me. But yeah, I've been on this journey for a while. So let's get into it, guys. What do you think of this opening where we open with just no music really and just titles on the screen, right? And then we get like a shot of a spaceship flying and crashing basically into Earth. And then we finally get the reveal of the cool logo of the thing. What do you guys think of this?
Can I go first?
Yeah.
Okay. That was one of the coolest intros. So the only critique I can really make about this movie is the spaceship, but I mean that's the special effects of the times in this specific instance. But whatever.
Yeah.
But whenever it like kind of burns into the screen, the thing. Oh my gosh, that was amazing. I loved that. That was one of the best intros.
What do you think, Lydia?
Isn't that funny how something like that, like just one moment in a movie that has nothing, it's like just the word, like just one small few seconds of a movie can just make you feel so many things. I just think that's an incredible thing. Yeah.
And it's also, I mean, usually with John Carpenter movies, I love the opening scores. They always have like but this, John Carpenter didn't score this. Ennio Morricone did. So it's not a John Carpenter score. But what's so powerful about this is the lack of music. It's just what they feel isolated up in that Antarctic, research center. It's just this, silence.
Yes.
And then finally just a little do do do. Do do do. It's just so good. Yeah, this is one of the best opening titles that we've had, that we've reviewed so far in the podcast, I feel like. It just sets the mood like almost instantaneously. And then we go from there to the establishing shots of the Antarctic. And we see these beautiful 2351 vistas of just white snow, just this landscape of barren ice, basically, cold. And then we see a dog running, and we see a helicopter chasing. And it's so deliberately paced that we see the helicopter chasing the dog. And he pulls out a gun and starts shooting at it. And then the dog eventually makes it to the camp of our heroes. And as we're at this point, we're introduced to MacReady, our lead character, played by the amazing Kurt Russell. Right? Let's take a moment right here to talk about Kurt Russell as MacReady. What do you guys think of Kurt?
I have a bullet point.
Go ahead.
And it says, effing Kurt Russell. It's all it says.
Man, he is the coolest dude. Just the coolest.
He is. I mean, he's almost the coolest dude no matter what movie he's in. But especially in this movie, he is the coolest dude.
Oh, yeah.
We'll eventually get to Escape from New York, and we'll see one of his other coolest dudes that Kurt Russell plays.
Well,
I did also have another notation. Oh, go ahead.
I just watched Guardians of the Galaxy too, so it was like weird to go from that to this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And even in that, he's so cool. You see him and you're like, especially when you see his flashback when he's younger, you're like, I can see why she fell in love with him.
Dude, that blew my mind, that flashback. I was like, what? What
were you going to say, Derek?
Just the line that he delivers. So to set this up, he's playing chess on a computer from 1982. So you can so you can only imagine like how powerful these computers were. Although it did extrapolate the takeover time that this.
Yeah, we'll get to that scene. That scene cracks me up.
But just his dialogue to this computer, where he's like, because he thinks he's gonna win, and the computer gets checkmate, and he goes, "You cheating, bitch."
You can say it. He says,
"I can't."
Yes, you can. He says, "You cheating bitch."
Yeah.
And then he pours his drink opens up its core and pours his alcohol into it. And at this point, he hears the explosion from the Finnish scientists who are throwing grenades at this dog. And at this point, we have no idea why. This is all a mystery. So they're throwing grenades at this dog. He runs out to see what's going on. The crew all gathers, and this dog runs up and greets our heroes. Greets Clark, who is the dog guy. Greets him, and they start petting him. It's this beautiful, like, husky. And one of the Finnish scientists has a grenade, and he drops it. He goes to throw it and throws it backwards.
Gloved up.
Yep, gloved up. Blows up the helicopter in himself because he's trying to dig it up instead of just running.
Yeah.
And then the other one,
scientist. What an idiot.
To be fair, I don't think combat was part of it. But
that's fair.
Then the second guy has the rifle, and he's going and he's just shooting at the dog. He tries to talk to him. They don't speak the same language, so they're not understanding each other. And he shoots one of the guys in the leg. Who was it that he shot in the leg? I don't remember which character it was. Was it? It was. What? Who was it?
I can
was
see
it Fuchs?
Face, but
No, it wasn't Fuchs. It was. I know who it was. It was Bennings. He shoots Bennings in the leg. Yeah. He shoots Bennings in the leg, and then he just marches past him and still tries to shoot the dog. Meanwhile, Gary, who is basically the captain of the expedition, busts out a window and shoots him right in the eye. Kills him. So then they're like, what is this? What just happened? So what do you guys think of this whole opening?
The helicopter chasing the dog is one of the coolest things. I mean, I would not know where to begin to pull that off. how did they get the dog to run across this
Terrain.
nothing? Yeah, this terrain. Like, and you, like, at first I was like, I wonder if they just like filmed the dog and then kind of put the helicopter separate on it, did something weird there. But then you see like the dog react to the helicopter like it's like scared of it. Like it was like, oh crap, you're coming at me. And then, the dog was pretty safe, I think. And
Yeah.
I think they took really good care of the animals during this movie, but you see that dog react to a helicopter flying over it, and it is very real, and it just is so intense and beautiful how they shot that.
Derek.
I've got 3 words for you. What an opening. It was a great opening. Like so I think at one point they say they're about an hour away from the base of where these guys came from. I do find it a little short-sighted that you don't have at least one scientist in that group that doesn't speak at least the language within the
Well, I think
corresponding
they did.
places.
I think they did. You mean in our group?
Yes, in the Americans group.
I think we do. I think one of them's able to translate it, but he just wasn't out there. Because remember, he's translating their papers. So I think one of them can. They just aren't in that area.
Gotcha.
Plus, he doesn't really give them a lot of time.
He doesn't, but you would at least be like, oh, whoa. And if you're him coming into that base, and these people have no idea why
you would try to explain it, right? You'd be like, hey, you put it down, and you would. But he also just saw his entire team ripped apart by the thing.
100%. I mean, once you see this thing, you're probably going to go insane. But this opening was great. It was action-packed, and it gave a good introduction to the people that we were going to see for the rest of the film, and it was fantastic.
Yeah, I love it. Like you said, Lydia, it's beautiful. I love the way it's shot. I love the way the open vista, and you see like the tiny dog and the helicopter following it is just so cool. Yeah, and it sets the stage because you're like, what can happen next?
Yeah, you're like, why? First of all, if it's the first time you're watching it, you're like, why are they chasing this dog and trying to kill it across this entire thing? It's just like you're immediately asking questions, which you never stop doing the entire movie. You're like questioning what is happening.
Yeah, this movie is perfect. It's a perfect example of not spoon feeding the audience. It's a movie that treats the audience like they're intelligent. The audience is smart enough to get what they can get. And there's some things that are deliberately not supposed to be known that are up to your interpretation to figure out what happened. Yes. Could A have happened or could B have happened? There's even maybe a C. So
like the ending.
We'll get to that. Yeah, exactly. Like the ending. You're right. It creates that. So we go from there to McCready and the doctor, Cooper. Is it Copper? Dr. Copper. They expedition to the Finnish base. It's an hour away. And McCready's a pilot, a helicopter pilot. Mm-hmm. So they fly there, and we get this great scene of them. Let's talk about that scene before we go back to our base. But we get this great scene of them investigating this base. They walk in, they see like an axe on the wall with blood. They see all this stuff. They see a guy who had basically slit his own wrist in his own throat, and his blood is frozen.
Yeah.
And then we see this pile of what was a man with two faces, like kind of split apart together, and in like kind of like a almost not quite a burn pile, but it's like laying there. Mm-hmm. And of course they take that back to do an autopsy. And they see the big giant, a block of nothing, right? Like a big giant block of emptiness. Mm-hmm. When
the ice, it's the like ice. Kind of like an ice tomb. Kind of
an ice tomb. Thing. Yeah, perfect way to put it. And it's empty. What do you guys think of this scene?
I think it is definitely there to like build more anxiety because he's like kind of getting snippy with the guy. He's like, come on, like, we need to get going. Like, hurry up. Whatever you're doing, hurry up. I'm going to go check out the rest of the place so we can get out of here. And he just, like, walks into this room. And he's like, you need to get
Come back in here.
Yeah. And there's just, like, this big block. And you're like, what? You're like, obviously, whatever is doing this came out of that.
What do you think of this sequence, Derek?
It is so this movie is a horror movie, but at the same time, it's also a mystery, right?
Mm-hmm.
They've just stumbled upon this mystery, and you've got all these little clues, and they do a great job of figuring it out, through the course of the movie. But like this, could you imagine being in their place and coming across this mutation of a person, this base that's been decimated, and then that giant ice block that's a tomb, and what came out of there? I don't know. I would probably just leave, but yeah.
But where are you gonna go?
Well, I'd get
to
in
a
that
different
helicopter.
base, completely different base.
I'd get to that helicopter, fuel it up, and then fly away.
Yeah, as
Bye.
far as you can.
Bye.
But yeah, does a great job. It's a great mystery.
Yeah, I love it because it builds so much tension, like you were saying, Lydia. Tension and suspense. When he's walking through that base and they're walking through it, you just feel something's going to pop out at him, right? But it doesn't, because it's not that kind of movie, right? It's not that kind of horror movie. So you're expecting a jump scare or something, and it's just nothing. It's just deliberately slowly paced, and it's walking in these rooms that are beautifully lit. And then the dude with the icicle blood is so disturbing. Can you imagine walking in and seeing that?
No.
And Kurt Russell's performance in that moment is so good.
Yes. The throat is slit so deep. And
the blade's still stuck there.
It's so disturbing. And his face is just horror, frozen in horror. It's disgusting.
So it's never a great time to bring this up. I say that as it's like a bad thing. This movie is so well done, and the special effects, minus those couple of little tiny things, is so well done. You could release this thing in theaters today.
Agreed. Yeah, agreed.
This movie translates so well.
Yeah, it holds
across
up.
time.
Yeah.
Very well. I was so impressed going back through it and analyzing it. Like, I see way worse than this in current movies, in big movies.
Definitely. Yeah, in big movies. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And like we talked about with Dead Silence, I mean, when we talk about the CGI morphing face and all that stuff, and how it's not very good, and then you compare that to, this movie, and you're just like, wow, yeah, practical is the way to go. Practical is better. It is
for sure,
a million times. And especially if you compare it, let's do apples to apples, and you compare the effects to this movie to the effects in the 2011 remake and prequel kind of movie, and it's just night and day. Like,
I didn't see that one
sometime.
We do. We'll do it. You haven't seen that, Lydia?
No.
It's not terrible, but the effects are. I think the effects are terrible.
Were they all CG?
Yeah.
They couldn't have all been CG.
They were. So they actually filmed them with practical effects, and the producers made them throw CG over it instead and refilm them with CG.
What?
Because they thought that, it made it look more dated with practical effects, which is the opposite of what it does. Using CG makes it look dated to that time period.
And it depends on the practical effects. Whoever did the practical effects in this movie,
the great Rob Bottin.
They were amazing. Like during the autopsy.
We'll get to Rob's magnum opus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Where it really shines is like when they're doing the autopsy. Like,
yes.
You believe.
You mean like after the scene when they bring back that thing that they found?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the next scene, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be.
I jumped ahead.
No.
Yeah,
we're there.
We're there, man.
You believe that they are doing an autopsy.
Yes, you really do. the camera just like goes up to each of their faces,
Oh,
and you
dude.
just see the realist acting
Yeah.
of them just being so serious.
So
I'm like, what is this?
What's
So
even
good.
better is right before the autopsy scene, we get and before McCready and Doc come back with the body, we get this scene where we're introduced to all of our characters. And there's this great scene where it basically pushes in and out of each character, and each character gets a moment to shine. You know what I mean? So we get like it introduces Windows. He's at the trying to get a signal for somebody, trying to get a radio signal to somebody, and then we're introduced to all the other, like we introduce Knowles as he's skating across the way, and then Knowles bumps into Halls bumps into Palmer, who is the hippie, like the kind of tripped out dude with the biker jacket and the vest, and we get his little bit. Then we are introduced to, so basically each little character here, we introduce Blair. We get like just little introductions. It's very well done. I love that. It's a seamless way. We get introduced to Childs. So just a really seamless way to introduce this, because this is a big ensemble of characters,
Right.
and none of them feel like pointless fodder. They all feel like members of a team. Some gets less screen time than others. Kurt Russell obviously should get the most screen time. He's Kurt Russell. But
are we going to have at least one diabetes clip in our podcast?
It's going to be in there. I'm Wilford Brimley, and I have diabetes.
Hi, I'm Wilford Brimley, and I've had diabetes for about 20 years.
Lydia, do you remember those commercials, or are you too young?
I do remember those commercials.
Oh, good.
Is that a character? Is he a character in this?
Blair is him. Yeah. Wilford Brimley.
Which one
That's
is
Blair? Blair is
Blair?
Dr. Blair.
Blair is the doctor that does the autopsy.
What on earth? Are you serious?
Yeah.
I did not connect that.
You didn't know that was Wilford Brimley?
He didn't have the mustache.
That's why. What's missing. Yeah. That's why you didn't.
Yeah. He didn't.
But if you listen to his voice, that's definitely Wilford Brimley.
Yep.
I've had diabetes for 45 years. That's why I suck on Werther's. You remember Werther's?
I do.
That's a grandpa thing.
Werther's
I'm too
original.
young for that.
Yeah, Werther's original. Now in soft chew.
That's great.
Are you looking up Wilford Brimley?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. So, getting to your point, Lydia, what you just talked about is once the autopsy, when they pull this thing out and they do an autopsy on it, it's all of their faces, like you said. We get close-ups of each person's face as they're reacting to this disgusting thing, whatever it is. It's just like this mass, like we talked about, a deformed human, and he's ripping out the intestines, and we get close-ups of him ripping out like all of the organs, and he says, hey, these are all normal. This is normal organs for a human being. And they're like, I don't understand, how?
Yeah. And if I were Blair, when I took a look at that monstrosity, I'd have been like, nope, I'm not doing it.
I think that thing's going to give me diabetes.
Diabetes.
So, after this scene, Clark goes and kennels the dog that has wandered on the base. And this scene upset me so much when I was a kid. Like, it upset me so much when I was a kid. So he kennels the dog, and the dog goes in and lays down. And he leaves. And then the dog starts transforming into the thing. Starts making this terrible sound. All the dogs start barking. Its head splits open, and like this skull thing pops out. These tentacles come out of its back. And then it just starts like attacking the dogs and trying to assimilate them. And one of the dogs bites through the chain in the cage and jumps out. Clark hears this, and McCready hears it, and he hits the fire alarm, pulls it. Everybody comes running in, and when Clark opens the door, the dogs escape, and the thing tries to escape, and he slams it and shuts it before, and he locks it in, and the thing is in there, and it starts to mutate into this thing. There's this one poor dog that's trying to escape, and he starts spraying it with this liquid stuff. So McCready comes in with a shotgun. Childs comes in. He tells Childs to go grab the flamethrower, who Childs, by the way, is played by the great Keith David.
Mm-hmm.
And he opens the door, and they all start unloading on it. McCready shoots one of the dogs, and Clark goes off because, he's like, no, no. And the other dogs escape out. And he tells Childs to burn it because the bullets aren't doing the job. So he catches it on fire with this flamethrower, and they all run in with fire extinguishers and put it out. What are your guys' thoughts on this scene?
It is definitely upsetting seeing that dog get sprayed, and like I can't imagine watching this as a child, because as an adult I was like very offended that the dogs were being attacked first, basically.
Yeah, it's like kill all the humans, but leave those poor puppies alone.
Yeah, and those dogs were such good dogs, and that main dog is a great actor.
Oh
too.
yeah.
He walks into the kennel. The guy's like, "Go into the kennel. Go on," and he the dog slowly walks in and just stares at the wall and just lays down and just does not move. It's like the creepiest thing.
Yeah.
And all the other dogs are just kind of like, what is that? What's going on?
What's this guy's
that dog staring? Yeah. And then it just gets just insane.
Oh, also, while it's doing this, the thing itself, one of the things, climbs up in the floor or in the thing and escapes. So what's left of it, they burn. The other piece of the thing, they burn and kill. Derek, what are your thoughts on this?
It was legit scary.
Yeah.
Like, I was watching it today, and I'm like, that's terrifying.
Yes, it is.
I don't know how I watched that as a kid, but...
Yeah, I felt that too when I watched it. I was watching it, and I was like... Because I remember watching it and being upset by that dog scene. That was the part that upset me the most. Because those, I'm a dog guy. I have 3 of them. So I was like, oh, no. And Remy's laying right beside me, and I'm like, I would never let the thing get you, Remy. Plus, Remy's a big asshole, so the thing wouldn't want him. It'd come over, and then he'd be like, "Whoa!" And they're like, nah. He just barks at everything. I don't want to assimilate him. I'll be an asshole, too.
Remy's a good boy. He's just misunderstood.
He is. He's a very sweet dog. He's just very vocal. He's a vocal boy.
He's got tiny little ears.
Mm-hmm. I'll show a picture of Remy right here. But he's the cutest little guy, and he Sarah today sent me a video of him barking, and she's like, "He's been doing this all day." I was like, "Yeah, that's what he does."
So, question.
Yeah,
I'm gonna try to connect the dot. Now, again, I was multitasking when I was watching this movie today, but Blair, does he gets taken over? I'm assuming by the piece that escaped through the ceiling when he is in the shed.
Yes, that's my interpretation. Yes, because he's not up until that point. I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think he's extrapolating along the world.
No,
the
thing, yeah. So at this point, they do a second autopsy, and this is where we're basically Blair says, "Look, this is where we find out what it is. That it's an organism that takes over other organisms." Said it was trying to copy these dogs. If it had more time, it would have been an exact copy of this dog. That's what it's trying to do. So whatever this creature is, it, assimilates to something and becomes an exact copy of them to take over more hosts and more hosts. And then he does a computer simulation at this point. And this is where the paranoia really starts to build. So it's going to be hard to talk about how well it's built in our format, but basically we get just some quick scenes of like him talking to Clark and saying, "How long were you alone with that dog?" "About an hour or so." "Why are you looking at me like that?" And he's like, "No reason. It's probably nothing at all." And then,
Well, go ahead.
oh, go. What were you going to say?
Well, let's get to the point where he is doing his calculations.
That's what we're going to get to. So basically, at this point, he decides, let's see what this can, what this thing is capable of. So he does it. So he runs a computer program, and it tells him what's going to happen. Basically, if this thing escapes into civilization, we get an animated computer animation of showing it taking over the cells in its 80s computer. But basically, it would, in what was it? How many hours?
27,000 hours.
27,000 hours, it would take over mankind.
Yep. So I did the calculations on this.
Of course you did.
Because of course it did. Yeah. So 27,000 hours would be 1,125 days, or just over 3 years. So the fact that he is doing the math on this and realized, like, it's a heavy thing, like the gravity of that situation of, if this thing escapes from this camp, like, we're screwed. If it gets into like some of the things that are containing it, the remoteness of the camp, the fact that it's super cold outside and it doesn't want at this point to go back into a deep freeze. So like those factors are keeping it as contained as possible.
Yeah.
But if it were to get into an airport,
yeah.
And I'm sure that because from this point on, like, his paranoia, to what you just said, like, goes off the charts, because he realizes it doesn't matter if we die or not, we gotta contain
this, right? Which is very interesting.
Bigger than him,
especially with what kind of happens next. So, McCready, Copper, and Gary all fly back to that station. They want to see what else is over there. What else is at that station?
Well, this is after they're going through the footage, right? And they realize,
they're going through the footage and they see this.
There.
They see this dig site. They're setting charges and such. So they go to that location to see what's there, and they uncover a spaceship, essentially. And that's when they realize that this is what this is. So when they return, McCready briefs everybody else of what he saw. Hey, I think this is an alien, And there, of course, Childs is immediately antagonistic to this idea. He's like, I don't believe in that voodoo shit. Which, since when did aliens become voodoo, by the way?
I thought the exact same thing. I was like, this isn't magic, buddy.
Yeah,
it's extraterrestrial.
Yeah, he's like, this voodoo, like, you probably go to church, don't you? I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Don't know the difference between voodoo and aliens.
Yeah, that sounds about right. From Florida, I see. So, this already starts to put tension between everybody at this point. And then, let me make sure I get the order of this stuff right. So at this point, they're ordered to burn the rest of the bodies, or put the bodies in that freeze area. So they're going to put the bodies up, Windows and Bennings. And Windows leaves. And once Windows leaves, we see the tarp move that's containing one of the bodies. And then Windows leaves, we see stuff dripping down. When Windows comes back, he sees Bennings, like, the thing's got him all wrapped up. He looks all disgusting over in the corner. And so he runs to get help, and he goes to McCready, and he's like, "That's got Bennings." So I believe at this point, also, Fuchs has taken McCready to the side to tell him that he's worried about Blair because Blair's acting real sketchy, and he hasn't left his cabin. And so once he comes back, Fuchs pulls McCready to the side, and he's like, I need to talk to you outside. And they go inside like the snowcat or whatever, and he tells him Blair's acting really crazy. He's being extra paranoid. We've got to watch him. Something's not right with Blair. So at this point, that's when Windows discovers Bennings, goes and gets McCready. They go to see if he's there. They see the window busted out, and they see him running. So they chase him down, and Bennings falls, and they go around to the front of him, and he's got these fucked up hands because he's not fully transformed yet. And he makes this creepy
so
sound.
scary.
He does that, and so McCready kicks the gas can over and catches him on fire, knights him, and they put him out. What do you guys think of this scene?
It's so scary. It's like the scariest thing. Like, I don't even know how to say anything. I'm sorry. I shouldn't be on a podcast where I talk about scary things because I get so worked up that I don't have words for anything. I'm like, it's like, can you imagine seeing that? Someone that you know personally and just like with monster hands.
And yeah.
And then they just do that noise. What? So it's like, why don't they use that like in more movies in that way?
Yeah.
I feel like other movies try to do that poorly, you know?
Well, I think the reason is because most filmmakers aren't John Carpenter.
I guess
That's probably
so.
true.
I mean, like, it doesn't seem like it would be that hard to pull off that, but like the way he pulls it off is better than anybody else.
Derek, what are your thoughts on this?
So if I were McCready or anybody else who is witnessing this happen, just the speed at which, like at this point, Blair knows, but the speed at which this is happening, because it wasn't but a couple of minutes ago, the guy walked in on him like being strangled by that thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just the time frame it takes from infection to being taken over, because he was 95% copied. It was just his hands at that point.
Yeah.
Would be so scary, because at that point, that's for me, seeing how fast that happened, that's when my paranoia would kick in and be like, okay, who among us has
Is the
already
thing
been transformed?
Yeah, that's where the paranoia starts. So yeah, I love this scene. It's so like scary. I mean, it has a big bombastic fire and stuff. It's big and interesting to watch too, but it's so scary. When he turns around and he gives him that look and he makes that noise, it's just like, can you imagine, like you said, Lydia, somebody that you know, but you look in their eyes and you know it's not them. Yes. That's scary. That's a scary thought, right?
So scary.
That's primal. That's a primal fear I think we have as humans. Not recognizing people that we know. So yeah, I love it too. So then we at that point, that's when they're like, let's burn all the bodies. We're going to burn at all of them. So they take them out and they burn them. And then at this point, Blair freaks out. And before Blair freaks out, we see somebody run into the chopper and run back out. And they're like, what was that? And they go to the chopper, and the chopper, all of the instruments are destroyed on it. So the chopper is done. So they're kind of stuck there, right? And that's when they start talking about how long the thing has been there and everything. So at this point, is where Blair kind of freaks out, right? This is the scene. He freaks out. Got his gun, and he's firing at everybody. They're like, they go to McCready again. They always go to McCready, you know, because he's the de facto leader, even though he's not the leader, right?
Yeah.
He's the de facto leader. So they go to McCready, and he's Blair's firing this gun, and he's destroying all of the radio communication. Like, he's destroyed all of it. And Windows, poor Windows, is over in the corner, like all bloody and stuff because he's been beat up and he's cowering. And so basically McCready sends Childs around to distract him, and they grab a table and they go and they take Blair and they knock him out. What do you think of this whole Blair scene, Lydia?
I'm gonna pass on this one.
You're gonna pass on this one? Okay.
This one's all Derek.
All right, Derek, go ahead.
I mean, just going back to that, like, at this point, he's really the only one who knows. And so he's legitimately lost his stuff. I'd be scared too. He's scared.
Yeah, he's scared.
And,
And not only is he scared, but he's like wanting to protect. He's trying to protect what he can, and nobody else really understands that yet.
Yeah, and I think his biggest mistake in this is he becomes irrational.
Yes.
Right. Instead of trying to have a conversation with the group to get them to on the same level as you as far as understanding like where you are in this process and what it could mean, he goes crazy. And so once that level of communication breaks down, they really have no chance. And so yeah, he's scared, and he understands what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And the fact that they
one
are
of two
in the middle
possibilities.
of nowhere.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
It's
You're
so
stranded.
much easier, and it's like so much more common for people to actually lose their minds in that situation when, you know, the thing isn't attacking them.
Yep. Exactly. I agree.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean it makes it like not only is there the paranoia of being trapped and the paranoia of being there, but you're completely isolated from all civilization. And I mean, people without having the thing have went crazy, to your point, in situations similar to that.
Mm-hmm.
Just the isolation drives people crazy, right? So you throw in a alien that multiplies itself and takes over life forms, and that's a whole nother ball game. So what they end up doing is they end up locking Blair away in the shed. They set up the shed. They have a guide line to it. They lock him in there and basically say, you need to stay here. They shoot him up with some morphine, and he has McCready stays behind and has a conversation with him and says, you know, how you doing, old boy? And he tells him, you know, you don't know what's going on here, you know. And then he says, watch Clark. And he's like, it's not you. It's not him. It's Clark. Watch Clark. He said Clark's he was most in contact with those dogs. You need to watch him. So McCready comes out and he says, you know, they start to make a plan to figure out what's going on. And he says, so first things first, you need to keep an eye on Clark while you're at it, you know. And then he says, we need to devise a test to see which of us are this thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
the doctor.
Yeah, and the doctor says that he's like, oh, I have an idea. I have an idea of this. And he's like, okay, what is it? And he says, okay, so I have developed a blood test. So they go inside, and the next scene we see that the blood has been tampered with. Like the freezer's good.
Explain this blood test.
Huh?
We should probably explain the blood test, like his idea.
What is his actual idea? Because McCready's is different.
Yeah, so McCready's is far less complex.
Yeah.
So I believe the doctor's idea was that it will take the sample blood that they already have, and then the blood from a person, mash those up, add some of the current blood to the old blood sample, And if it tries to assimilate,
then we'll know it's the thing. Yeah.
And if it doesn't, then we know it won't do it. And McCready's is so much more like straightforward.
Yeah, which we'll get to that, of course.
Should have went with his in the beginning.
We also didn't mention that Blair, when he goes crazy, also kills the rest of the sled dogs. So that's awful.
Yeah.
Well, and Clark
trying to eliminate every single avenue.
Every avenue. Yeah. So Clark is, of course, very devastated by this.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's a great misdirect, by the way.
It's a very great misdirect. It's a perfect
because
misdirect.
Every data point that you have to this point tells you that Clark is infected. It's great misdirect.
Yeah. So at this point, they get into like the scene where the blood's messed up is a great scene because we get this tension build. We start to see the fracture within this group and the paranoia that nobody trusts anybody. So he's like, okay, so who has access to this blood? The doctor's like, well, I do. He's like, I suppose I do. He's like, okay, so who, else has access? And he's like, well, I get the keys from Gary. And Gary's like, well, somebody could have lifted it off of me. And then it creates them like fighting with each other. This big fight starts to break out. Windows freaks out, runs and breaks open a gun case and grabs the gun because they're like, Windows was the one with Bennings, so he's probably the thing. So he grabs a shotgun. Gary points the gun at him, and McCready talks everybody down. And then Gary like says, well, you'd feel better if somebody else was in charge. And Childs goes to grab the gun, and Clark stops him with the knife. He's like, the hell you will. And McCready goes, I think we need somebody a little more even-tempered, Childs. And he takes the gun. What do you guys think of this little sequence? The whole blood scene in this sequence?
It's very intense.
Yeah. Like, it does
like
a great...
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
So it's like a little game of poker at this point. You're putting your cards on the table. To say, especially whenever they, are fractured to the point where they're having to identify a new leader.
Yeah.
And we know who's who. Because they offer it to the one guy and he's like, I don't think I'm up for this. I'm like, okay, buddy, go sit down.
Yeah, Norris. That's that Norris guy. Yeah. I don't think I'm up, because they're like, well, nobody will oppose Norris. And he's like, no, that's not for me. So yeah, but it does a great job of sowing the seeds of discontent and the seeds of mistrust. So nobody's trusting anyone at this point. Everybody's kind of, afraid of each person. At this point, also, McCready has been talking to a tape recorder. He's kind of saying, hey, I'm going to hide this tape afterwards in case we don't make it, but something bad's happening here. And he's in communication with Fuchs, who's trying to develop a new blood test. He's like, did you develop another method? And he's like, I have a few ideas. Yeah. He's like, keep working on it. So then he goes outside, Fuchs does, and sees a jacket on the ground, ripped, and it says R.J. McCready on it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is important because just before this, when McCready's in the tape recorder, he says one more thing. I think that it rips its clothes when it transforms. I think it rips the clothes that it's wearing. So he finds this, and then the next thing we know, they go out to Niles and McCready and I think it's just Niles and McCready. They go out to investigate this, and they stumble upon Fuchs's burnt body. So now that we're here, and McCready says, well, maybe he tried. He said, the one guy says maybe he tried to accidentally burn himself, and McCready says, well, maybe he caught himself on fire before it could, assimilate him. What do you guys think happened to Fuchs?
I have no clue. I don't know how anybody. I was not able to follow what exactly was happening and who was being infected and whatever, similar. I couldn't follow it. I was just going with it.
So, couple things. First off,
Who do you think?
I love how
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I love how he's like, I'm gonna hide this tape. But if they're all dead and he hides it kind of well, like, who's gonna find it?
He's gonna try. He's gonna try his best.
Yeah, at least there's a record somewhere that someone might stumble upon. So there is so there's a point in this. And I think it's when McCready comes back in from the winter. I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but it has to deal with this. So when he comes back from the winter storm and he's like, people are trying to attack him and he throws them. And the one guy he throws against the shelves and he like gets knocked out.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then they go to revive him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll get to that scene.
The second one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's infected. I'm going to give that part away.
Yeah.
But I don't think he knows that he's transformed.
No, I think
he
he
get
does.
that impression?
No, he does.
Because
Yeah.
he's like, he
Yeah.
starts to like not feel good.
Yeah, like it doesn't feel good. Yeah, exactly.
And
Maybe
another
you're
theme,
right.
Another thing that I noticed is that they all seem kind of scared because they don't know if they are infected.
But
You know what I mean?
also, yes, but I think that's because they don't know if they do know when they're infected, because they don't, you know what I mean? Like that, none of
Yeah.
them have been infected and know that they've been assimilated, of course.
Right.
So they don't know if, am I infected and don't know it, So nobody knows that. But I do believe that the ones that are infected, and Norris is maybe just a misdirect, but I think the ones that are actually the thing know they're the thing. Because we'll get to that in the blood testing scene.
Mm-hmm.
They at this point they're out in the winter storm. They go out there. Why do they go out again? I'm trying to remember why they're out there anyway.
There was a fuse that went out that they had to go
That's
turn
right,
back on.
that they had to turn the fuse back on. So when they're there, Knowles finds he finds McCready's torn jacket, cuts the guideline, and leaves him out there to freeze to death because he thinks he's the thing. So McCready comes
to, and they find the burnt body. And then they're like, why don't we turn back? And he's like, we need to stop by my bunk first. Why do we need to stop by your bunk?
Because the light's on.
When I left yesterday, I turned the lights off.
That's right.
Then it cuts to no, I didn't catch who it was, but it cuts to a frame or two of somebody like looking at them. Who was that?
I don't think we know, right? Or was it Gary? But I think we're not meant to know. It's kind of supposed to be the thing watching them, maybe.
I thought it was the face of somebody.
I don't remember. I don't remember it.
No.
But
okay.
So basically from there, McCready breaks through a supply window because they won't let him in, and he has a stick of dynamite, and he's like frozen and looks like shit, and he has the stick of dynamite. He's like, I'm gonna, if I go, all of us go. So he basically holds them hostage, and he makes Childs drop the flamethrower, and basically ties them all up, or gets them all in a room, and they're all kind of in this pressure cooker of an area, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when they're fighting, they knock out what's his face. Like you said, fight breaks out, and they knock out Norris. And Norris passes out. So the doctor goes to give him, he's trying to revive him, and he's not reviving. So he grabs the defibrillator paddles and shocks him once. Meanwhile, McCready's still holding everybody hostage with this dynamite, right? And he has a flamethrower, he's attached right by the flamethrower and everything. And he goes to shock him again, and the dude's stomach opens up, to giant teeth, bites off the dude's arms. The doctor falls down, and then this gross head pops up from it, and it's like attached to the top. There's little tentacles everywhere.
There's like, it's like Twizzlers.
Yeah. Little, and they catch it on fire. MacReady ends up burning it, catching it on fire. And he's like, no, let it burn. Wait. And while this is going on, the head detaches from the body. It rips down.
Ugh.
Its tongue goes off and pulls itself with its tongue. And then spider legs come out of it. And it turns into a walking spider.
Like little eyeballs like come up out of the top.
Yeah, at the top of it.
Well,
and
at the bottom, technically.
Yeah, so it's upside down. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then so then they see it catch it on fire. What do you guys think of this autopsy scene?
It's perfect.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have been in the pitch meeting, or like when he's like talking to the special effects people, and maybe even he storyboards like what he wants. The look on their face is probably going to be like, what are you talking about?
I want a spider head to fall off and then crawl away.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like a big spider.
So good.
I can only imagine.
Scary.
It's
not. Yeah. It's like not only shocking that like his arms just go straight into it. It's like it just gets, oh my gosh, it just gets so crazy.
It's one of the best scares, right? Like, I mean, because you don't really see it coming.
Out of nowhere.
The tension is ratcheted up because of everything that's going on. And then you do not expect this dude's stomach to open up into a mouth. Yes. That is just next level. And so when that happens, I remember as a kid watching it, I was like, what is going on? Yeah, just one of the best scenes in horror, period. This autopsy scene.
Yes, I totally agree. And I really like how MacReady is like holding everyone kind of hostage with dynamite, and then he's like pushes that guy over and he just doesn't get back up. And you can see like the worry, and they're like, get the doctor back in here, because he doesn't know. And it's almost like he just like got really hurt and like, or like had a heart attack or something.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. Yeah,
it does. And he's just like, get the doctor in here. Everybody stay in my sight. I gotta take care of all of you, but I'm taking care of myself because you're trying to attack
because
me.
I know I'm not the thing, but I don't know which of you are not the thing.
Yes.
So I want you all in front of me.
Makes you really like him.
What's also great about this scene is once the thing takes over here, he immediately pushes everybody back and immediately kills the thing.
Yes.
And, and basically earns some of their trust back with that. Because there's actually, during the blood testing scene, that's what's said, is it's like, well, MacReady did waste that. He took no time wasting that thing. If he was that thing, I don't think he would have wasted it. Yeah. And so at this point, everybody's up at each other's throats. Windows and Palmer's always accusing Windows of being the thing. So they're constantly at each other's throats. Now they know Norris was a thing. So he thinks that MacReady himself thinks Gary's probably the thing. He's like, so, his suspicions are Gary and Clark are probably the thing, but he doesn't know. So he devises a blood test. And as he's, getting ready for this, Clark tries to attack him with the knife. He grabbed a knife earlier in the thing. Yeah, scalpel. And he tries to attack him. And once he does this, MacReady has the handgun now that Gary had. He turns around and shoots him in the head because he's arguing with Childs. And he's like, "You will take it. You'll do this, or I will kill you." And he cocks the gun and points it right at him. And says, "I'm not joking." And he's like, "I guess you're not." And then Clark attacks, so he shoots him. And that's when we get into the other best part of this movie, which is the whole blood test scene. I love the blood test scene. It's so good.
Me too.
It's the tension.
Yes.
So he devises this method of blood testing, basically that when that head pulled off and crawled around, he realized that maybe each bit of this thing is a separate entity. And so maybe its instinct is to survive. So he devises, his thought is maybe just if he gets something hot, it'll try to survive the heat, the blood will.
Mhm.
So we get this great suspense. So he first does windows. Windows is clean.
He
Has
doesn't
them
just-
all. Yeah.
He
Go ahead.
cuts their whole entire thumb open.
I don't know why they had to do that big of a cut. I would have just done a little poke and be like,
Well, and like, I mean, on the just entire
Yeah.
surface of your thumb, that is like one of the most used digits.
do like a
on
little
your-
pinky, right? Do a little pinky. Do,
Yeah.
and bleed it out.
something.
So,
That's true. It is.
y-
It makes it better because they cut. Just, I mean, that guy goes for like the right under
yeah.
the thumbnail.
So Windows collects everybody's blood, and he starts the blood test. So he heats up a coil with the flamethrower, and he first does the doctor's, the doctor's human. Then he does Clark. Finds out Clark was human, and you can see the remorse on his face once he finds out. And Childs is like, that makes you a murderer, even though it was self-defense. But he's like, that makes you a murderer. And he's thinking, okay, fine. So he does Windows. Windows is clean. And he's like, so I'll tell you all what I know. And he does himself.
Mhm.
And he's clean. So then he does Gary next. And he does Gary. And Gary says, that's fine. But can you or no, he doesn't do Gary next. I'm sorry. He does him later. So next he does Palmer next. And there's a great shot. There's a great switcheroo here that you don't see. But he's holding up the blood sample and he touches it and it jumps out. And jumps right in his face. And then it goes down, it starts running, and then Palmer starts shaking.
Yeah.
And, and they're tied to him. And they're like,
Yes.
hey, get me off here. Get me off here.
Awesome.
And they, of course, they kill Palmer and burn Palmer. And then we
After-
have...
Doesn't he kill like
He kills
someone?
Windows first. He kills Windows. He,
Yeah. his head
Sucks
opens up?
his head opens up and bites off his head.
Yeah.
Like, it's
Yeah.
so crazy.
But there's this whole scene where there is like the dummy. There's like a dummy like
Attached
flailing
to his
around.
head.
Yes.
Yeah, as
I
he's
love
walking.
that.
Yeah. Because he like walks up to him, and he's like, Windows shooting because McCready's flamethrower is not working.
Mhm.
So he tells Windows to hit him, and Windows is just like, I guess, struck with fear. And then his head opens up and he bites his head off.
Yeah, he does. I mean, come on. Like, just shoot it. And he just stands there and just gets eaten.
So then after they catch him on fire and kill him, and he burns Windows as well, because Windows like is over there and he's all like fucked up and catches him on fire. It's Keith David, Childs and Palmer. He does Palmer, or he does Childs. Childs is clear. So then he does Gary last, and Gary says, now could you please untie me so I don't spend all winter tied to this fucking couch?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Such a good line.
So then all of them the things are gone, except there's one person they have to check, which is Blair. So before we get to Blair, what do you guys, your full thoughts on this whole blood testing scene? It's one of the best scenes in movie history, in my opinion.
It's such a good scene. And I just have to say, the first 2 times that I watched this movie, I jumped at the blood thing. I don't jump in movies very often, but I jumped really hard at this scene. Like, it is very surprising when you're not expecting it.
It is. It's great.
I love
great.
it.
Derek.
No, I agree. It's so suspenseful. And then the reveal that Clark, like I said, this was a great misdirect. When you reveal that Clark was not infected, and his remorse at that moment, because he realizes it was just a regular guy, human. But yeah, just the suspense was fantastic. It really made this scene that next level.
Yeah, it ratchets everything up, and especially the misdirect they do with the blood. So they how they did it is his hand is a fake hand. They have a fake hand rigged to the thing that shot out the blood when he touches it. So it's a fake hand, and they cut to it once before. So they have this shot here where it's over it, and then they cut to him doing his own when he does McCready's. It's this shot here. He does it, and then when it goes back to that one, it's that fake hand again. They do the misdirect with the fake hand, and it's so quick you don't notice it.
Wow.
And that's what makes it. It's just a great.
It is great.
It's such a great, like the way they pace it, because you're expecting it to be here, expecting it to be here. Expecting to be, so then you're like, well, I guess it's not coming. Then it's here. It's so good.
And I just want to say, I think that McCready gets past it really quickly when they're like, "Oh, you're a murderer. You shot that guy." I think he gets past it really quickly because in his head he knows that there's no chance of any of them getting out of this.
Yeah, he's starting to understand that. Yeah, he's starting to understand that.
Yeah, I don't think he actually probably would have shot anybody if he didn't know that in his head that nobody is gonna be okay after this.
So, yeah, they go to check on Blair, and there's a scene that I need to mention that's earlier in the movie that we skipped. They go to visit Blair one of the times and check on him, and they open the window asking if they've seen one of the characters. And when they open the window, he's like sitting in the office or in that shed, and he has a fucking noose hanging in the shed. And he's like, I don't want to be here anymore. I want to go back inside. Can you guys let me go back inside? No, I don't think you're listening. I'm tired of being here. I don't want to be out here anymore. When he said that, I literally laughed out loud. Because he's like, hey, have you seen what's his name? And he's like, I don't want to be here anymore.
I think at this point it's when he's infected.
Yeah, I think that's the start of him being infected. Yeah,
he's sounding really weird.
Yeah,
I mean, he was already being weird, but
and then he goes up to the window. He's like, "No, listen to me, man," and he just shuts the door on him. So they go to check on Blair, and they have Keith David Childs stand at the door with the flamethrower to watch for anything. And when he goes into Blair's hut, they find him empty. He's not there. And as they're walking, they feel something below the floorboards. So they pull up the floorboards and they see there's a giant hole that leads to like a tunnel. And they follow the tunnel down and see that the Blair thing was building a spaceship, basically. Yeah. And to get out of there. So they're like, okay, great. We need to figure out what's going on. And then they have Knowles keeping watch while they're down there looking at it. And he sees Childs run out of the base. And then the generator shut down. Everything shut off. They have no heat. They have no heat source or anything. So they're all standing around, and he's like, it's going to get under 100 below without that, you know? And he's like, so how about we at least warm this place up? Because he's like, that's what it wants. Because we can't survive in that, but it can. It can go into deep freeze. they come to rescue us and they take it. He's like, so how about we warm it up around here so it can't, at least for a little while. And he lights the dynamite and throws it down, blows up the spaceship, blows up the entire hut, and then they just start wrecking the base. They start basically just crushing it, catching it on fire to go to the end game. What do you think of this little bit?
I really like when they're going through and setting up the dynamite and stuff to blow everything up. It's so good the way they just follow them through, and you're like, okay, something is gonna go wrong. Something always goes wrong.
Yeah, definitely. So what goes wrong is that while they're setting the rest of the charges to blow everything up, Blair, we find out, which we knew is the thing, and he comes and he attacks Gary first, and he freaking takes his hand and like pushes it through his face, and kills him. And then he Knowles is gone, right? Knowles disappears at the time. So McCready he's like, you guys, hey, anybody, he's hollering for him. Nobody's answering. And he goes to set he has the dynamite plunger, and it gets pulled down, and it's dragged down, and then this big giant thing appears, which is the Blair thing. That is also taken in Knowles as well. And it starts trying to attack McCready. McCready has lit a dynamite, and he gets knocked around, and he grabs it, and the thing's there, and he looks at him, and he says, "Fuck you too," throws the dynamite and blows him up, kills the last thing. What do you think of this finale?
Such a good line. With the floorboards, when that thing comes at him, it's so shocking. Like Derek said, like, if they release this today, I think it would be just as impactful, because that is such a shocking thing to see when it's just quiet. It's not like they do now when it's like, oh, the musical build, and there's like bass and all this crazy stuff going on. And it's like, oh, here you go. It's about to happen right now. It's just like, he's just waiting, and he just looks, and he's like, okay, should I do this now, or what's going to happen? And then the floorboards just start. Yeah. It's really fast right at him.
It's so cool when that happens.
Yeah.
And then it starts pulling the plunger down. Pulls it down with it. And McCready throws the dynamite, jumps out, blows it up. And then he survives. He walks out, and he's all beat up, and he's really cold. He has his alcohol with him. The thing's on the base is on fire, and he sits down, and Childs walks around the corner, and they have a conversation, and he sits down. It's just McCready and Childs, and he's like, "Where were you?" And he said, "Well, I thought I saw Blair, so I went out there, and I got lost in the storm." And he's like, "Oh, okay." And he's like, "Well, how do I know that you're not one of the, how do I know you're not the thing?" And he's like, "Well, the way I see it is if either of us are the thing, none of us are really in any shape to do anything about it." And he's like, "So, he's like, I don't think we're going anywhere." He's like, "Well, what should we do?" It's like, "I think we should just sit here for a while and see what happens." Says, "Okay." And he hands him the bottle, and Childs takes a drink of it, and McCready smiles, starts to laugh, and then we pull back, and it's ending. What do you guys think of the ending? So first off, what are your thoughts on the ending, and what do you think it means? Let's start with you, Lydia.
Oh gosh, I don't know. I don't know what it means.
So what are your thoughts on it first?
I like it. It's it's kind of like it could go so many ways that you kind of can make your own ending, and just imagine what happens next, and it's like all up to you, which is nice because it's like I can be like, oh, they both got rescued right after that.
Yeah, absolutely.
They were both fine, and they won. Or you could be like, yeah, they probably like froze to death out there. Or you could, I mean, it could go.
Or you could think that Childs might be a thing.
Yes, and I think a lot of people think that. But
Derek,
I don't know if I think that.
Yeah, we'll get into that a little bit here after I hear what he says. What are your thoughts on this ending?
I think that MacReady is the thing.
Really?
I do.
For how long?
Why would you think that?
So here's why I think that. So this thing has throughout the... I'm going to give this, like, if we were assigning percentages, I would just say that he's 15%, maybe the thing, and Childs is probably 85% the thing, if we're assigning percentages. But here's why I think that there's a decent chance, a 15% chance that it could be MacReady. So this thing, the thing, throughout the movie, has demonstrated that it has the ability to develop defense mechanisms, like on the fly, right? And the best case, or the best example of this, is whenever they're shocking the body. The first time, it's just like, what just happened to me? And the second time they go to do it, it has already repositioned itself to create a mouth to rip that guy's arm off. So what if the creature, and it's the dialogue that is what made me think this, because he's like, why don't we just sit here a while and see what happens? As if we just sit here long enough, we'll both freeze to death and I'll be fine because I will move on.
That's a good point.
But if it were, like I said, this is like 15% is my...
Yeah, I don't really think this is the case, but that's...
But if you were the thing, if you were that being, why would you not, because it seems like it has a hive mind in a sense, why would you not create a copy of yourself that is oblivious to the fact that it actually is an alien, so that if something does happen...
You're getting into, that's not even hinted at that's a possibility with this creature.
It is. It just, the dialogue was right there. Anyway, I think this is a conspiracy. We should get that one guy to do a video.
So, I love
film
the ending.
theory.
That's just a theory. A film theory.
I love that it's... I love the ending. I love that it's ambiguous.
It is ambiguous.
My takeaway of it is neither of them are the thing. They're both humans. The thing is defeated. And the reason I kind of cheat, the reason I think that is because that's what John Carpenter thinks as well. So
that is cheating.
But even before, I thought that, I mean, it makes you wonder if Childs is the thing, and can Childs be the thing? Yeah, I think so. I don't think it's MacReady because he just blew up the thing. But Childs did just leave randomly, and we don't know why. And Blair, the Blair thing was out there at that same time before he attacks Gary and Knowles, right? So... could Childs be the thing? Yeah.
Could MacReady be the thing? Yes.
I stand by my...
I think I'm agreeing with Derek on this. I feel like he absolutely could be, because there's this thing where I feel like if an alien was doing this, right? Doing exactly what this alien is doing in this, it would try to assimilate the smartest, like, dominant person in the room and use that as an advantage, right?
I understand.
Like, this person is going to be the survivor of the story. I'm going to pick that one.
Except
the smarter one that everybody...
that the thing just got blown up. It doesn't exist anymore. It got blown up. The only way that one of them can be the thing is if they were assimilated before he blew up that fight, before he blew up Blair. And the only person that could be would be Childs, because MacReady blows up Blair.
the jacket.
The jacket's a misdirect.
It is a
Purposely.
misdirect, but maybe
Planted
it's
by
not a
Blair.
misdirect.
But maybe it's not.
Planted by
Because he's
Blair.
even like, if he's already assimilated, and
Well,
he's like,
that doesn't make-
he recorded it like, I think it
I know where you're
shreds
gonna
up
go,
the
Jamie.
clothes.
That
Because
doesn't make
he's
any
like-
sense because that's before the
Because of
blood test.
I know what
Yeah.
you're gonna say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, it could have been somebody else's.
No,
blood.
Yeah.
that's just making stuff up
Could
that
have
doesn't
switched
exist.
the samples.
Yeah, no, it's McCready's actually in sequels to the thing as well.
Is it?
Yeah.
They
In
made
other
a
media.
sequel to this?
They made a sequel video game that McCready's in that's actually canon according to John Carpenter.
Why have we not known about this? Well, you did, but I didn't.
I
He just
did.
knows too much about John Carpenter, I think.
And there's also sequel comic books that aren't necessarily canon, but there's multiple of them where McCready fights the thing like 4 different times. Nobody believes him, and he's just like, "This is the thing, you guys," and they're like, "Nah, it's not. You don't know what you're talking about." He's like, "No, I just blew up my fucking base and shit," and they're like,
Yeah.
"You're fine." And
You know
then
what I will say,
it's the thing again.
Jamie?
What?
The thing I admire most about you is your like knowledge of film. It's always enlightening in these conversations to just peel back the onion and see how much you do know.
Well, you know, I
It
also
pisses me off.
I also did a bunch of research before this episode. I researched the episode. That's what I do. That's how I have to move it forward, so I have to do that.
Did you or did you not know that tidbit about John Carpenter saying that before this?
Before this, I remember reading about an interview. I'll look it up and see what interview it is.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. Like, I knew you knew this before, like today, or we watched this episode.
You know what I think? I think Jamie's the thing, and we need to do a blood test right now.
You could. You could.
All right, Jamie, cut your thumb open really hard.
I'll do it right now.
Okay, don't do that. I changed my mind.
Never mind. Never mind. So, according to John Carpenter, he says he never understood where the confusion came from. The last frame of the thing is Kurt Russell and Keith David staring at each other, harshly backlit. It's completely glaringly obvious that Kurt Russell is breathing and Keith David is not. So, maybe Keith David is the thing. We don't know. But McCready is not. That we know.
I've heard that theory of him not breathing.
Not breathing, yeah.
Because you can't see, because you can see Kurt Russell's breath like really intensely, and you can't really see.
But that's also the lighting, and that's what
It's
makes
the
it hard.
lighting. I think
it
it's
makes
just
it
the
hard to
lighting.
tell.
Yeah.
When I watched it in 4K last night, I could see his breath, but not as clearly as I could.
Yeah, and it's because where
McCready's.
he's standing.
Yeah, it's because he's back to the wall,
Yeah.
and McCready's leaning in his. They're shooting him side, so you can see Kurt's breath a lot better.
Yeah.
But I mean, if that was intentional by John Carpenter, if that's what he said, then that's what he said. Who knows? But what's great about the thing is that ends on such an ambiguous note. Also, do they escape? Do they both just die there? Does Kurt Russell, does McCready defeat the thing and then sacrifice his life to do so? Die?
So
do they?
All kidding aside,
are they saved?
And the crazy theories, I would probably go for the option where they both die, because throughout the film they've literally destroyed every means that they have to get off the base. So unless there was some sort of distress signal or something sent out,
that was sent out first.
Yeah, they said they're not going to see anybody until spring.
That's the plan. I guess there would be if they were, if they didn't have communication within X amount of time, maybe they'd send somebody. Mm-hmm. But there is actually a new out that wasn't intended when the movie came out, but you could easily put in now, which I can't really spoil because Lydia's not seen the new thing. But there is a way, Derek, if you think about the ending of the 2011 thing.
It's been a while since I've seen that one, although I can think of one.
Yeah.
So it took an hour by chopper to get to the other base, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that would be probably a couple of days walk.
Yeah.
Which is
so
2
that
minutes.
Probably would.
Yeah, it's 2.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Because you could get back to the actual spaceship.
That's true.
if you could get back to the actual spaceship, and you'd have at
Well-
least a place to stay.
Here it is. I can't. Lydia, cover your ears. Well, no, you'll have to hear the episode. So there's a way. Trust me, viewers. There's a way that I'm thinking of that we'll discuss after Lydia watches the new thing. So I don't
All right.
spoil
Well,
it.
I don't
So-
remember. Now I want to know.
I'll
What
talk
about
to
the
you off mic
old-
about it.
What about the old thing? There's
What
an
old
old one,
thing?
right?
Oh, yeah. You mean Howard Hawks's? The
Mhm.
Howard Hawks produced the thing from another world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll watch it. We'll do a review
Have
of
you
it.
guys seen it?
I have not.
Well, Derek is in black and white, so you might get confused.
Son of a bitch.
I'm gonna give you a paper bag for Christmas, and just know what's inside.
So, that's the thing. Let's talk about it now that we've, discussed the whole movie. Let's give our final thoughts on it. Lydia, what are your thoughts on the thing, and what's your rating for this movie?
Ooh, for some reason, I never think about what my rating is going to be before you ask me. I really need to start doing
You're like,
that.
this was a good one. What's your rating? Fuck! It's like you didn't study for the math exam. That's the day?
That's about how I feel. So I think I'm just gonna go ahead and give this movie a 10. 10 pumpkins. I think it's nearly perfect. I think the only thing that took me out of it was the dummy that they put on that guy's head in the blood test scene.
Yeah. It's great, though.
It actually, I never noticed it until this watch,
Yeah.
that it was clearly a small dummy. So I think there's like some, illusion going on there.
Yeah,
But then
yeah.
this
The
on this
movement
watch,
makes it, yeah.
it didn't work on this watch
Yeah.
for me. So, but any other time I never noticed it. But that's the only thing that I can really point out that wasn't perfect in this movie. So 10 pumpkins.
Derek.
I give this movie a 9, and it's a fantastic movie that stands up even today. I would love to see this thing in a movie theater. I think it would do pretty well.
Yeah, that would be great to see. We should, if there's a screening, we should go see it.
Yeah. So I love this movie. I think that the special effects still look really good. It's not only a horror movie, but it's also kind of a murder mystery. It's very
Sci-fi.
suspenseful,
Mhm.
sci-fi. Like, it checks so many of the boxes. It's such a well-rounded movie. And I do love, even though we had a little bit of fun with the end of it, the end is just it's great, because you draw your own conclusion, and you have no idea actually like what happened or what direction it goes, unless you have read some of the comic books or the video game, which I didn't know existed.
But even without those, the video game's 2002, and it's really cool. It's actually there's a system where you have like your team with you. You're checking that base and trying to find out what's going on, and there's a trust system between you and the NPCs, and some of them can be the thing, and they attack. Pretty cool.
Wow.
Pretty cool game. John Carpenter was very hands-on with developing it because he's a huge game head. So
Nice.
isn't that funny how John Carpenter loves video games so much? So I'm giving the thing a 10 out of 10. It's I've only given 2 movies 10 so far on this podcast, and they both happen to be John Carpenter movies. But John Carpenter's Halloween and John Carpenter's The Thing are like this as far as horror movies are concerned. I think it's John Carpenter's best looking movie. I love the way it's shot. The score's great. The acting's great. The characterizations are great. The tension just makes you want to cut it with a knife. and after it's over, it sticks with you. You're still in it. And about the ending, what I think is the most important part about the ending is, I mean, it's fun to discuss who is the thing, what is the thing. But the most important
Why
part
is
about the
the thing?
ending, yeah, how is the thing. But the most important part of the ending is the reason I like the ending the way it is because the ending is just the end of the story. That's where the story ends. Like, we don't need to know what happens next. They completed their mission. The story is done. This is the end of our little story. And it's the movie's so bleak and dark anyway, that having it end with, Kurt Russell flying home and meeting up with his long lost girlfriend or something would just totally like destroy this movie, right? I mean, there's no other ending for this movie. It has to end with, I could argue it could have ended with just Kurt sitting by himself too, and it would have worked just as well. But having Childs and McCready sitting together to create one last little bit of paranoia is the perfect way to end this story. So yeah, 10 out of 10.
I agree.
So Derek.
I think I give it a 9.
Yeah, why'd you give it a 9? Not too late to change it, man.
He just can't do it.
He's never given a movie a 10.
I've
The only
never
movie he's
given
gonna
one.
give it. The only movie he's gonna give a 10 is like the goddamn Notebook or some bullshit.
It's not a horror movie, but it would get a 10. We'll
Get
get there
about a
one
10
day.
out of 100 for me. Fuck that shit.
I think Leprechaun's got a good shot.
I'll get the hell out of here with Leprechaun.
I was just so shocked that you said that.
Yeah. So, Derek, what's on the agenda next week?
Wait.
Wait,
We gotta aconize
Oh,
this.
you know what? I meant to mention this. We didn't aconize last week's movie. So we have to aconize it as well. And it's a hard one to aconize. But I think we can do it.
All right.
So,
real quick, let's do the last movie.
Hatchet. Who would Tom Atkins play? I mean, it's so well cast, isn't it?
Dude, I would make him. Who was the guy who pissed in a jar and drank it?
You're making Jack Cracker?
Yeah, Jack Cracker.
Yeah,
I
but
meant Ed.
you don't want to give.
That was
you
so
don't wanna,
gross.
Jack
You don't want to
Cracker.
take away Giancarlo Beekler's cameo. Richard Reel's so good, he can't be
No, I think it would be
that
perfect.
character. I would say, ooh, God, this is the hardest one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Man.
I think he should be the main character.
Oh, you think he should play Ben? Just why not? Like fucking 50 or what 60-year-old Tom Atkins.
Yeah.
This damn New Orleans Mardi Gras. As he's swigging down a Miller.
Yeah.
He could play Shapiro, I suppose.
Oh, there you go. That wouldn't be too bad.
Yeah, he could probably be Shapiro.
I like that.
I say that'd be the best because he can't play Reverend Zombie because Tony Todd has to be Reverend Zombie.
Exactly.
Mhm.
He can't play Thomas Crowley because Kane Hodder has to be Thomas Crowley. He can't play Victor Crowley, obviously. So yeah, I'd say Hatchet's Aconization is, for me, it is Shapiro. Derek, you're agreeing?
I like it. I
Nope,
like it.
Jack Cracker.
Oh, you still think it's Jack Cracker? Okay, now guys, we have to aconize this movie. I think I know there's a couple characters he could play here. Especially since this is 1982, so we'll get 1982 Tom Atkins. This is the Fog era Tom Atkins. So there's a couple characters he could play.
I think I know who I would would pick.
Who?
I would probably make him the antagonist opposite Kurt Russell. I would probably make him Childs.
You'd make him Childs?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but then you'd lose Keith
I
David.
I know, but you can't do Kurt. Kurt's too good for he's
you
great
can't.
in this role.
Yeah.
And I also feel like if you're going to do somebody in this era, it would have to be a really prominent character.
Yeah.
I guess you could, although he's kind of young to play the like captain of the squad.
It depends on how he's written, I guess. I mean, he could.
Gary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess
Some of the other characters are deadly.
Yeah. You don't want him to be Palmer and wearing like a fucking biker vest.
No.
I think I would cast him as he'd be Gary in my version of the thing. What do you think, Lydia?
I'm trying to just imagine all the possibilities because there's so many characters.
If Kurt Russell wasn't so great in this movie, Tom Atkins would be a great McCready.
I think so.
But Kurt Russell is so great that you can't replace him.
Yeah.
In another universe, I think Tom Atkins would have been a pretty great McCready too.
Yeah, I think so.
I agree with that.
But for me, it's going to be Gary. What do you think, Lydia?
I think that's a good choice. I'm trying to picture the guy that goes crazy and gets.
Oh, Blair.
Yeah, I'm kind of trying to picture that.
Oh, man.
He could be that, but then you'd lose Wilford Brimley, and we wouldn't get our diabetes jokes in.
Diabetes, yeah.
I forgot that was him already.
And then you remember, you're like, I used to see him while my grandma was watching Matlock.
No, I never watched that. I don't think.
Oh, I used to watch
that.
I watched the fuck out of some Matlock. You ever watch Matlock, Darren?
Yep. Oh yeah.
I think my aunt watched it.
Always on Matlock.
I wasn't into it.
I was all about it. I was a big fan of Matlock. All right, Derek, what is on the agenda for next week?
Oh, our favorite scary critters, Gremlins.
Gremlins! Lydia and I at the same time. Golf
is that
clap.
our Christmas episode or?
It is. Well, yeah, because right after that, the next episode would air after Christmas, and that's Black Christmas. So this would be our Christmas episode, unless we release Black Christmas on Christmas.
We could do.
So
I think that was our plan. What day was that? I don't even know what.
It would project out to be the 26th.
Oh, so we could release it on that Sunday instead of that. I could probably do that. We could turn that around. Yeah. Don't hold me to that, folks, but we'll see. But next week, Gremlins. I don't know where it's streaming because I own it.
If you don't own it, go buy it.
Yeah.
Every Christmas.
Guys, I'm going to give you another spoiler right now. Gremlins is going to get another high rating.
Right.
It is on HBO Max, by the way. It's on HBO Max. Both it and its sequel, which is also underrated and hilarious.
So good.
We'll get to that, too. So, guys, any final thoughts on John Carpenter's masterpiece, The Thing? Or any other comments you want to make before we sign off?
I just want to say follow us on social media and take care of yourself this holiday season. I know it can be stressful, but in a few weeks it'll be over and life will go on. It'll be just fine.
I'm taking that advice because in 2 days from the time I'm recording this, I'm going to be in the Dominican Republic. And we'll be back next week in time to film next week's episode. But I'm going to take a little leisure time. The wife and I are going to a wedding, so that should be fun. Also, follow us on all social media, like Lydia mentioned. I'm on Twitter at Racket. We're on Facebook at Hyla Productions. We are on Instagram at Scream Bloody Movies. Anything else we want to plug? We're editing the new movie. It we'll have a new announcement for that very, very soon. It's getting further along. Derek, am I forgetting anything?
I don't think so.
Okay. Like Lydia said, take care of yourselves. We'll see you before Christmas, so we won't wish you that yet. I thought you were going to turn into Jerry Springer for a minute at first. Take care of yourselves and each other. With that, remember, for Lydia Judy and Derek Lemaster, I am Jamie Hiles, and if you are going to scream, guys, scream bloody movies. That was all over the map. That was like not even in the same zip code.
It was pretty close. I'm happy about that.
Scream bloody movies. Bye, folks.